we already had such kind of deadlines or such ultimatums by President Trump 4 or 5 times. And each time Putin didn't do anything, and it only encouraged Putin to double down on his aggression and terror against Ukraine, against our population. So we should judge only on the basis, not on the basis of words uttered by politicians, but we should judge the actions, the deeds. And I hope that President Trump will finally change his course of action and will demonstrate resolve in terms of bringing Putin to negotiating table by using force.
Now, we have this readout from number 10 Downing Street after Keir Starmer's meeting with President Trump in Scotland earlier. The statement says, the Prime Minister met US President Donald Trump in Scotland today. The leaders began by discussing the appalling scenes in Gaza and agreed that urgent action was needed to bring an end to the suffering, which has reached new depths. Humanitarian aid, says the statement, had to be allowed in at scale and pace. They committed to work together to bring an end to the misery and starvation and continue to press for the immediate release of the remaining hostages who've been held so cruelly for so long. Statement goes on. They reiterated their calls for an immediate ceasefire to pave the way for peace in the region, and the Prime Minister welcomed the President's efforts to secure this and shared plans he's working on with other European leaders to bring about a lasting peace. And then the statement says, turning to Ukraine, the leaders agreed they must maintain momentum to bring about an end to the war with Russia, including by putting economic pressure on Putin to come to the table without further delay. And it goes on the landmark economic prosperity deal, the leaders remarked on how beneficial the deal is for working people in the UK and the US and agreed to continue to work together to build further on their close and strong economic relationship. And then it says, finally, the leaders discussed plans for the President's coming state visit in September, which they both looked forward to. That then, the statement from number 10 on the President meeting the Prime Minister earlier today. Now then, let's talk a bit more about Donald Trump bringing forward, speeding up that deadline for Putin to come to the negotiating table. He said that he and Putin had had a good relationship and he couldn't understand the Russian leader's decisions.
Russia could be so rich. It could be so rich. It could be thriving like practically no other country. And they're holding that back because we can't. He wants to do trade deals with us. He talks about it all the time. He wanted to. And I envision that a lot of trade with Russia. They have a lot of valuable things. When you talk about rare earth, they have serious rare earth, right? They have just about every form you can have. You know, Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people, and it doesn't make sense to me. I thought he would want to end this thing quickly. I really felt it was going to end, but every time I think it's going to end, he kills people.
Well, Trump was also asked if he planned to speak to the Russian leader.
I don't know. I'm not, I'm not so interested in talking anymore. He talks. We have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night with a missile going into a town and hitting, recently, I guess, the nursing home, but they hit other things. Whatever they hit, people die. So, I don't know.
Donald Trump. Now let's get reaction from Oleksandr Merezhko, the chair of the Ukrainian Foreign Affairs Committee. Hello to you, Oleksandr. Welcome back.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oleksandr, before we go on, can I just ask you, if you could, to describe conditions in Kyiv and across Ukraine now, where there's been a steady barrage of missiles and drones. What does it mean now, today, for daily life?
Well, each night we have this shelling, we have the sound of drones, sound of explosions. I live in Kyiv, in the downtown, and practically each night we have this. And I have to wake up several times during the night, and then I go back to sleep. And we became sort of fatalistic, because we got adapted to this nightmare. And each morning I open the news and I read how many civilian casualties we have, how many people were killed by Russians as a result of these drone and missile attacks in different cities of Ukraine. So it's continuing. Putin continues to terrorize. He wants to terrorize us into submission, but he failed. He failed to break our will to survive and our morale.
It's difficult sitting in the safety of London to really quite appreciate what it is that you are going through there, day after day, night after night. And how are your air defences holding up?
Luckily, thanks to our European partners, thanks to Americans and systems, Patriot systems, we still have reliable air defense systems. But, it works successfully against Russian drones. But when it comes to ballistic missiles, it's more problematic. And we're concerned because the last package provided by the Americans to Ukraine is running out, and we need more support, more air defense, because the lack of such air defense system translates into casualties, into civilian victims, and that's why we're concerned about this.
Well, that is why these highly efficient Patriot missiles are so important. It's not clear, though, Oleksandr, is it when Ukraine's European friends will be able to release their Patriots for your use?
Well, we were told that it's a matter of months, but, again, we need it as soon as possible. As we say, we need it for yesterday because, unfortunately, we continue to have casualties among civilian population without reliable system of defense, air defense. And only the Americans, they have this system, and European friends, they're ready to help us to buy these systems from the United States. But of course, we need more to be more secure.
Okay, Oleksandr, so the question of the day, we heard Donald Trump earlier saying he was cutting the deadline for Putin to come to the negotiating table. He had 10 to 12 days. What did you think when you heard that? Are you taking comfort from hearing that?
It is encouraging, yes, of course, and I hope that finally President Trump has started to understand who is dealing with, that he is dealing with absolutely unreliable interlocutor, the Kremlin dictator. And by the way, what I especially liked in the statement made by President Trump, he said that he doesn't see any sense in talking to Putin anymore. And to me, it's a good sign that he's becoming realistic. But we already had such kind of deadlines or such ultimatums by President Trump 4 or 5 times. And each time Putin didn't do anything, and it only encouraged Putin to double down on his aggression and terror against Ukraine, against our population. So we should judge only on the basis, not on the basis of words uttered by politicians, but we should judge the actions, the deeds. And I hope that President Trump will finally change his course of action and will demonstrate resolve in terms of bringing Putin to a negotiating table by using force.
Indeed. Well, we will see, won't we? Well, very soon now, whether President Trump is living up to the words that he used today. Oleksandr Merezhko, so good to talk to you. Thank you, Oleksandr, and do keep safe.